sun where I find. I know it's hard sometimes.
Here with me today is Niels Bohr.
Nice to see you, man.
I have some questions for you. What was your experiment about?
My experiment was to explain how electrons can have stable orbits that are the nucleus.
What was wrong with Rutherford's model?
In Rutherford's model, the electrons were always unstable. According to classical mechanics and electromagnetic theory, any charged particle moving on a curved path that emits radiate. Thus, the electrons would lose energy and spiral into the nucleus.
So, what happens when the shell is curved?
Well, when the shell is curved path, it will be unstable until a shell has the perfect amount of electrons. Example, the first one has 2.
How'd you figure out how many electrons could be in each shell?
Well, the equation is n equals 1 or 2 n squared, but like the first one can have 2, the second one can have 8, the third one can have 18, and so forth. Like, it's kind of difficult, but like you can figure out.
Could you give us a fun fact?
Did you know when jumping from one orbit to another with lower energy, a light quantum is emitted? My atoms emitted light in fixed wavelengths.
What's the real-life example of the model?
Well, you know how the sun is the middle and all the planets orbit around it? Well, it's like the sun is the nucleus and the earth is the electrons, and the sun has so much mass and also does the nucleus.
How many electrons can there be in each cell?
So when there are electrons on the first circle, it could only have 2. And, well, it's unstable if it doesn't have 2. And the second one can have 8, the third one 18, and it goes on and on. More.
What if there is 10 electrons?
Well, if there's 10 electrons, then it will be steady still because it will be 2 on the first circle and 8 on the second. So it would be a stable, steady electron.
What year did you create your model?
I created my model in 1915, but the idea came to me in 1913.
How would you describe your model?
Well, you know Rutherford's model? He never figured out how the electrons could be steady, and I did. So the model is a circle, and in the inside it contains protons and neutrons called the nucleus.
What was the model's purpose?
It was created to contain the protons and neutrons on the insides. They are orbited by the electrons.
Now I don't want to bore y'all to death, so let's begin. Niels Hendrik David Bohr was born in Copenhagen, Denmark on the 7th of October, 1885, to mother Ellen Adler and father Christian Bohr, an intelligent physiology professor who was nominated for a Nobel Prize twice. Bohr grew up in a wealthy family from the mother's side, which consisted of bankers. He was the second of 3 children. Bohr's parents strongly believed that their children should have an education. Bohr was an academic student and was strong in most of his school subjects. He surpassed in mathematics but was more interested in sciences. By the time he was a teenager, he became intrigued in physics and could correct his school's textbooks. He would get into fights for correcting a student, which he would always end up winning. Both of his parents knew that he had the potential to become a brilliant scientist. However, they wanted him to be well educated culturally and in sports. Bohr's younger brother, Harold, went on to play for Denmark, winning an Olympic silver medal while he became a goalkeeper. In 1903, Niels graduated from high school at age 17. Later that year, he began studying at the University of Copenhagen. He studied chemistry, mathematics, astronomy, and he received his master's and doctorate in physics by 1911. In October 1911, Bohr moved to England at Trinity College, conducting experiments under J.J. Thomson. Bohr didn't have such a good start with J.J. Thomson. He pointed at one of Thomson's books and said, "This is wrong." Bohr couldn't agree with the Cavendish lab's work. The research didn't make sense to him. In 1912, he returned to Copenhagen from Manchester. He took up a position as assistant professor there. That same year, he married Margaret Norland, later on having 6 children. 4 survived to adulthood, and one would later become a well-known physics scientist named Ad. In 1913, Bohr developed and published his model of atomic structure, known as the Bohr model.
One of his famous quotes is, "Prediction is very difficult, especially about the future." And as you can see, I did not predict that.